So that was President Trump touting his successful economy and lowering gas prices. So let's bring in former Michigan GOP gubernatorial candidate and podcast host Tudor Dixon for reaction. So Tudor, do you agree the state of the economy and pricing are going to play a big role in these midterm elections?
Absolutely. Everybody wants to. I mean, that's why Donald Trump got elected in 2024, and everybody wants to see better prices. And what the president was just saying is exactly what gets prices down. When you have lower energy costs, not only do you have lower costs in your house, but also as you travel and as the products that you buy travel. And as those products get cheaper to move around the country, they will also be cheaper in the stores and be more affordable for American families, which is critical for the midterms. And that's something that Democrats have never been able to deliver.
So you think he's set up the economy to deliver for the midterms?
Oh, absolutely. They've been working on this. They were working on this before they even got into office, knowing that Biden's economy was going to be the #1 thing that would take down Kamala Harris because it was so bad. They've been working on this for years, and he brought in some of the most intelligent minds when it comes to economic policy in the entire country. Not only did he immediately get to work on energy, but he also immediately got to work on tariffs and security in the country, so making sure that all of these things would bring down costs for the American people.
So moving on, I want to get to this. Take a listen to what CNN's Scott Jennings discussed as what he thinks President Trump's biggest successes of the year are. Listen.
Well, look, I think on the immigration piece, it's been his biggest success this year. It's the biggest promise fulfilled. We've had 2.5 million people deported. A significant number of them were self-deported. They used the government's app or just decided to leave the country altogether. And so when I talk to Republicans and Trump supporters around the country, they're more than thrilled with the aggressive nature of it. We haven't passed any new immigration laws since Donald Trump became the president again. We're just enforcing the laws that we have, something the previous administration would not do. So I know the left has treated this as some big controversy, but I don't know what's controversial about the president just simply enforcing the laws that are on the books.
So what do you think? Is that the biggest success for this president?
There have been so many big successes. Certainly that is the biggest success to keeping American families safe, and that was a #1 concern of people in the country. Also, the economy is definitely another one of those. But I would say we would be remiss if we didn't talk about bringing the hostages home. This is something that the Biden administration was incapable of doing, and that to me was a very critical moment worldwide for President Trump to be able to bring peace to the Middle East.
Yeah, the president certainly has shown strength on the global stage. So we're seeing another campaign promise fulfilled of that immigration. But about a year into his term, and the U.S. is actually net negative on immigration because of deporting all the people who came here illegally. How worried are you, though, that open borders is still a goal for Democrats?
Well, I think they've made it quite clear that it is their goal. Not only are we seeing that, but we're also seeing massive fraud with immigrants, sometimes illegal, sometimes people who are naturalized citizens. I think that overall we're going to see a real immigration push from Democrats, and that's going to hurt them. I'm not concerned about that being a winning issue for them. I think they should continue talking that they want open borders and that they want to allow this type of fraud that we're seeing, because I think that's going to be what is going to cost them the midterms, quite frankly.
Yeah, Tudor, you're in Michigan, and President Trump received an overwhelming amount of votes from union workers, especially the auto industry. His policies have sparked more production in this year. Is it working?
Absolutely, and so critical for the state of Michigan. And you'll notice that one governor who was willing to put in those no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime was Gretchen Whitmer. I'll give her credit there, but I think she also knew that she needed that so desperately in the state, because the state of Michigan is not only losing people, but we're losing manufacturers. And now that's going to bring a lot more population here. We're going to have a lot more people buying our products, and we'll have a lot more workers to work in our factories, which is so critical. But absolutely, that is happening here in the state of Michigan. And the lower energy costs are also going to help our manufacturers. That's one of the hardest things for us to overcome in our state for manufacturing, and we will with President Trump.
Yeah, President, and the Michigan governor probably saw the support from the rank and file of the president. Thank you, Tudor. I appreciate this. Happy New Year to you.